Lee, this one, I believe, is all you.
Yeah, so we did want to touch on watershed protection funding, partly because I think a lot of people operate in sensitive watersheds and have questions about, how to tap into some of those funding and financing streams. There are a lot of different examples of this kind of approach, but one that we'll just highlight as an example is the Salt Lake City Public Utilities. So they charge a monthly fee on all of their customers, which is then used for purchases of conservation easements in the Wasatch Mountains. The Wasatch Mountains being the main source of Salt Lake City's fresh water supply. So I know, it's a $1.50 fee for each ratepayer on their water bill, and the fund generates about $1.5 million a year for acquisition in a municipal watershed, all around protecting water quality and supply, quality and quantity. And it uses money that would otherwise be spent transporting and cleaning the water. They've done a really great job there of bringing their ratepayers along with that understanding. And part of that, though the fund was established in 1989, part of the reason they've been able to educate their ratepayers so well and bring them on board, growing the fund, the charge from $0.25 to $1.50, stems from some history there. So the concern for the watershed goes back to 1873, if you can believe it, when, fun fact, Brigham Young actively opposed mining and other development in the headwaters of the city creek because he thought that would foul the waters leading into the city. In fact, he was correct. So a bit of a unique history in that particular watershed, but pretty great example of the water utility there seeing the value of doing from a cost savings perspective, a future cost savings perspective, of doing upland conservation easement purchases all geared towards water quality and quantity security. There are plenty of other examples. I think smaller total amounts, groups like Mackenzie River Trust, they get somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 from their local utility. But again, just another place to look. You have a pretty ready ratepayer base in a lot of these utility districts. And for the right utility, they may be really interested in thinking broadly about the watershed, if they're not already.
Yeah, and I might add, Lee, it's not, I think one of the biggest and oldest watershed protection programs is New York City's, where they're out in the Catskills, financing or funding the purchase of conservation easements. But, it's not just about drinking water. It can also be about wastewater treatment, and some municipalities are pretty forward-thinking and recognize that if they can conserve, let's say, farmland or green space upstream and keep it in green space during rain events, their combined sewer overflow won't get hammered with storm surge and won't overflow and go into the river or lake or whatever it is. So other programs out there for sure.